from my book, Solitude. I just want to tell you guys all that this is a very exciting period in time for African American genre writers, because for a long time you could only really be a literary writer. You had to have a voice like Alice Walker or Toni Morrison. You couldn't write science fiction until Octavia Butler opened that door, and you definitely couldn't just go around trying to sound like Anne Rice or Stephen King or something. You had to be really, really, really serious, which is great that you can write really, really seriously, but I kept trying and trying, and I guess that horror is in my veins because it just kept coming out and coming out and coming out. And one day, my mother, who's here tonight with us right there, she gave me a copy of a book by L.A. Banks, which was all about this fantastic vampire slayer, and I loved it. And it was categorized as quote-unquote urban fiction, which basically means fiction with people that are in urban settings that are not all... okay, never mind, I just dug a hole. Apologies to the people, apologies to the people here that are, you know, not of color or whatever, but yeah, urban fiction, if, you know, it has characters of color and stuff like that, and it takes place in cities and stuff, that's what they call it, so that's what they were calling it, so, but it's kind of getting now to where it's like, it's okay if people buy books that are, you know, horror that are written by black people that are not, you know, in the quote-unquote urban fiction niche, which is, you know, it's better to have a niche than no niche. So, I am, so that I don't babble all night, going to try to read the introduction, not the introduction, but the little marketing blurb about my book here. Solitude. To what extent does the presence of others affect our thoughts and actions? What do we believe when we are truly alone? Solitude is the riveting tale of diverse individuals isolated in a San Francisco seemingly void of all other human life. In the absence of others, each journeys into a personal web of beliefs and perceptions as they try to determine what happens there and to the world around them. Each of their views of events, each views events differently. One suspects that aliens have invaded. Another believes that it's a sign of revelation and end times. Some don't know what to think, and others find their minds unraveling as they struggle to cope with unimaginable events. Soon, threats both natural and supernatural leave them too busy fighting to survive in a world of strange and unpredictable events where all of the luxuries of civilization are being slowly eroded to even stop and wonder. And unless they can find each other, they will all have to face it alone in the dark. Okay, so this book is a book that has basically about a half a dozen, maybe it's a little more than that, I'm really not counting them right now, characters who each find themselves in these situations we just described. And at first they don't know about the other people, so they're all kind of wondering whether or not they're the last person on Earth, or in the case of those who have determined that this is isolated to San Francisco, the last person in San Francisco. And this particular piece that I'm going to start with is about a character whose name is Jerry. And Jerry is a homeless guy who wakes up at the main San Francisco Public Library on the day after this event because he got drunk and passed out, and he sleeps there, and he lives there. And this is really part of a chapter 6, which is called Gone to the Dogs, because there's a lot of ownerless, wild, feral, hungry-looking dogs wandering around San Francisco at this point of the story. Okay. You know, I really could have bookmarked this, but I didn't. So I'm gonna keep looking while I'm talking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he thinks I should do it Brad style, just open it up and read it because you guys all want to hear about people's internal, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we start with this? Gerald K. Sampson versus the library. Jerry had a few items of value in his wallet. All of them were forms of identification of one sort or another, important for a homeless man to possess. For lack of proper identification could become an excuse for a police officer to pick a man up off the street and fingerprint him to prove that he wasn't one of the not so few men with a criminal history who were living in the homeless anonymity, avoiding being picked up on some bench warrant from somewhere. Jerry was a drunkard, but he was not a serious criminal. Once for pissing on the sidewalk and twice for evading mealy bus fares by hopping on the back of the bus. But nothing so serious as to create a need to hide his identity. So his California state ID, his Safeway discount shopper card, and his library card all proudly bore the name of Gerald Keith Sampson. His state ID further identified him as a 28-year-old man, brown hair, gray eyes, 6'4", and 250 pounds. A big man, and that served him well when he was working, which was at the bars as a bouncer or a doorman, picking up a paycheck and some free drink tokens that helped speed his way into his now full-time occupation as a wino. From time to time, some of the half-forgotten teen years, half-forgotten years between the ages of 22 and yesterday, he'd earned a modest living that way, paying up the rent in a timely manner for a little room at the Residency Hotel with the shared kitchens and the bathrooms that had been necessary to make his own way after he turned 22 and his parents slowly discovered that his stay at home and frequent promises to find a job after completing college were going nowhere since he had no intention of either leaving home or completing college. And they kicked him out. The details of this transition from a guy who worked door and security at some decent but not great paying South of Market club to a guy who works one night a week and spent the rest of his time wasted at the library parking lot with his homeless buddies had blurred along with everything else, as most of the time he was jacked up on the booze and whatever else was being passed around, and the rest of the time he was just plain blacked out. A library card was part of his prized possessions because he was frequently hanging out inside, especially on Friday if he had work that night, making use of the restroom facilities as his personal grooming station. Now, he made sure to go there once a week to shave and bathe in the sink so he could be presentable and keep his job. But lately, security was getting testy about this. They started to chase him out with dirty looks, threats, and pointed repeatedly to the signs posted near the bathroom that said, in no uncertain terms, but politer language, that the library didn't want homeless bums washing their ass in the sinks. This created a problem for him. If he didn't bathe, he couldn't pick up the $100 for working club security one night a week, so he couldn't fund his alcohol habit and pay for the items he was unable to get at the free places that provided meals and clothing to the homeless. Shoes, for example. At 6'4", he was a big guy with big feet. And size 16 shoes were not the kind of thing you could just pick up at the free clothes program for the homeless. because not a lot of size 16 shoes were being donated. He had to buy his shoes at an athletic shoe store or special order them down on 6th Street. Being shoeless is not an acceptable condition for one living outdoors. It's a dangerous one. This pretty much is who Jerry is. So now that we've gotten a pretty good sense of who he is, because that's actually the page that I landed on, I think that I'll flip forward to some scarier parts. Is that okay with you guys? You guys are good with that? Okay, we're going to go forward to where it's getting scary.
I turned the lights off, but I think it would cut the light.
Oh yeah, you know, I don't think that I could really read in the dark that well. And even though I've written this, I don't actually have it, you know, memorized, yeah, because it's 350 pages, and like as somebody said, wow, you wrote this great big book, the other book's 400 pages, it's like, yeah, I wrote this great big book, okay. I wrote 3 great big books because, like Stephen King, I have diarrhea of the word processor, so, you know, and then at one point my mom, who's my publicist, said, you really can't promote, you know, 50 zillion books at the same time, so you might want to stop publishing them. You can keep writing them, but just don't publish them quite so fast because, you know, no one will be able to read them all at the same time like that. Okay. Wow. This is my first book reading, so you're going to really have to forgive me for this whole...
Okay, so these are, let me quick show you a couple of Sumiko's other books. The Moon Cried Blood.
Yep.
Warmth. And this is an earlier version of The Moon Cried Blood, which is going for a special price tonight. A little cheaper than the other ones, a little thinner, but same text.
It's got tiny writing. That was when I first started to publish, and then some people gave me some feedback that since my average reader is 35, they're probably not going to be able to read the itty-bitty writing. But yeah, if you have good reading glasses, you can totally save $3 there. You know, yeah. Soon even I won't be able to read it. Yeah. Well, as some people like to say, that's the first edition, so if I become famous or something, it'll be worth tons of money or something. Yeah. Okay. The dog. Jerry grabbed up the whole Mrs. Fields cookie sample platter and took it with him, smacking his lips on the way down from Pier 39 to see if the sea lions were still there. They were noisily fighting with one another for the space on that wooden platform, stinking of fish. In fact, all of the animals seemed to still be there. But what unnerved him more was what he saw an hour later, walking up past the crab shack to the Wax Museum, to the beach in front of the Maritime Museum in Ghirardelli Square. It was the dogs. Dogs walking along the beach, confused. A neatly groomed white miniature poodle dragged his leash, trailing behind him on the ground, as if some ghostly apparition of an owner had just let it go. An avid science fiction reader, he had infrequent access to television or motion pictures, and books had developed a special place in his heart over the years. It was easy for Jerry to quickly develop a number of random theories about what might be going on here. Some of them were vaguely plausible, he thought, but all of them had more than a touch of the surreal. His latest theory was that an alien race with a giant fish aquarium or hamster cage, or perhaps a zoo. These aliens had picked him up while he was sleeping, scooped him up, and dumped him. In a giant replica of San Francisco they developed. In this clone San Francisco was a huge cage just for him, a created environment that was to keep him comfortable like those caged animals at the zoo. That way, he would think he was still in his native environment while the alien parents, with their grimy little brats, strolled past the cage window eating popcorn and staring in at him, watching him do all that crazy shit that humans do. Okay, it's not scary enough yet, is it? I mean, this foreshadowing stuff, I don't know about that. It's got to get a lot scarier. Yeah. And there are actually about 8 other characters in here. Don't worry. I definitely didn't see what you were doing there. And I don't think any of you have brought any food to the candy into this bookstore. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Man, I really have got to, okay. You know what? I'm just going to have to read something else because I can't find it. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
Read the whole thing.
No, I can't read the whole thing. That would take forever. It's 350 pages. 10. You just don't fuck with Mother Nature. What were the odds of lightning striking twice? What were the odds that not one, but 2 of the same people... Okay, never mind. If I read this, I'm going to be spoiling my own book. I have to go back. You know, because this is just, it is scary, but now I'm... Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I can't spoiler my own book. That would be wrong. So, what is going on? Something bad is coming. It's definitely got to be stopped. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Gone to the dogs. That's what we're looking for here. Gone to the dogs. Am I boring you guys?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Okay, that's good.
We'll let you know.
You'll let me know. Okay, good. So here we go. Okay. I think we'll go ahead with this part with Shane and the dog. So these are 2 other characters dealing with the ravenous, hungry, leashless, and possibly either alien or demonically possessed dogs that are running loose in San Francisco at this point before things get worse. Yeah. They just keep getting worse in this book. Just so you know. It's like that. 6, gone to the dogs. What do you mean about the dogs? Shane started, but then, like a punchline to a joke gone wrong, they came bounding downhill. Doreen barely got on the back of the bike in time before they got there. Earlier, Shane had handed her an extra helmet. He always had been sure that there were other people, and he'd been carrying an extra one around just in case there were. But he'd never seen anyone, so he'd never stopped. So he'd never seen anything like what was coming. It was a wild pack of dogs, and they just looked very wrong. Some of the dogs were big, others were little. They all looked like they were once someone's pet. His first instinct was to laugh. A dirty little miniature poodle with a grown-out poodle cut was dragging a battered pink leash along, an equally pink collar from which dangled a torn pink bow. But as they got closer, he could see some of them foaming at the mouth, and others had odd eyes, pale, yellow eyes. exuding a scary, unnatural glow. And that snapped him out of it. He kick-started the bike and took off moments before the miniature poodle lunged at Margot's heel. The rabid dog tried a second time, this time leaping up at her neck just before they sped away. He knocked it to the pavement with a swift kick. He could have sworn he saw what looked like dried blood on its mouth. Objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear, he thought, glancing over his shoulder once as he picked up speed. He decided to keep his eyes on the road ahead. Those dogs were moving too quickly. This would be a terrible time to spill. And he couldn't stop until he made it home. When she saw where he was staying, Doreen understood why he didn't know about the dogs. His place was a suite near the top of the Hyatt Regency room. Yeah, there's no. Hyatt Regency room at the Embarcadero. The door was propped open with a trash can. Okay, so now I'm going to skip over the part where he's basically going to start trying to hit on this chick because, hey. Are we good?
We're good.
Okay.
We're enjoying.
Okay, cool. I'm back to Jerry. Jerry has just so many problems with dogs. His bike was not one of those expensive sport bikes like he'd seen around town, locked with parking meters, often with the front tire missing, taken away by the owner to ensure that the bike had not been stolen. His was a 10-speed he picked up from the stock room at Toys R Us in South of Market, carried back to his hotel room in a box, which, by the way, is not at the Hyatt Regency. He's staying down to the Tenderloin because people are creatures of habit, but that was a digression. It's not in the book. I mean, it's in the book, just not in this part of it. Anyway, he felt safe and was off in his mind, which is why he didn't notice the Greyhound. It wasn't the kind of Greyhound you got a cheap ticket on so you could go simple and easy. It was the pricey, whip-thin kind of Greyhound that was painted on the sides of those buses, the kind that looked so cute and cuddly as a puppy in the advertisements for those buses. Only this one didn't look cute or cuddly, and damn, it was fast. Jerry started pedaling harder, but there was no way in hell he was going to stay ahead of that thing, not on this bicycle with the trailer attached to it. He might have tried to unlatch the trailer, but there was no time. The Greyhound, pet's gone wild, he thought stupidly, had to have been someone's pet.
I am stretched on your grave and will lie there forever, with your hands held in mine and be surely not sever. My apple tree, my brightness, this time we